How's it going, everybody, and welcome to this tutorial of how to properly set up your brand new AK wake foil. So we'll kind of dive right in. We've got our AK foil or AK surfer right here, along with our bag that has all of our foil necessities in it. So what we got in here, we'll kind of give you the rundown of all the necessities, the screws, the bolts, everything that comes into play here, and kind of the proper way to set it up, because there's a lot of different ways that it could go, but there's only one that's correct, and that we'll make sure you have a maximum time on the water here. But we'll start it off. We've got our big Allen key right here. That's essential to setting up the foil. It's just a standard size that fits for all the bolts here. And then the other thing that's really important is we have our track inserts. So on this foil right here, you're able to adjust the foil either forward or backwards. But you'll see that there's a flat side on this little track insert here. You're going to want to make sure that that's sitting, like that the rounded portion is facing up at you and the track is sitting flush. We're going to drop them all in there with that flat portion down on the track. And then from here, we've got our base plate. This is also a really crucial part. You can see that it says front, so you're going to make sure you want to put the front of this pad facing towards the nose of the board right here. And you can also see where there's a little bevel on this plate, and you want to make sure that that matches and sits flush with that little spine that runs down the bottom of the board right here. So we'll kind of line up this little dip and face it right on top of the board right here. So we've got our 4 screws right here. Another crucial element is that on this mast right here, you can see where it says front. So it's very important that you put this front facing portion of the mast towards the nose of the board. And then another thing when it comes to setting it up, we recommend that for beginners, you take this mast and you move it all the way to the rear of the board. The reason being for that is when you have the mast at the back of the board, it'll generate less lift. So that makes it a lot easier for beginners to learn how to start the foil process. And as you become more advanced, you can move the mast towards the nose of the board. That'll increase the sensitivity and increase the lift that you're able to get from it. But we recommend that for beginners, you move this track all the way to the back of the board right here. So we're going to line up our mast right on top of our base plate, and I'm going to kind of just start these screws, get them started just with my thumbs. It's a little bit easier that way. Kind of just get them lightly tensioned, and we'll kind of go around in a systematic order here, getting things started. And yeah, so they should just line right up over those nuts that we've already dropped in to the track right here. You may have to kind of slide it back and forth just to adjust it in the beginning and kind of line everything up. Yeah, so now that I've got my 4 screws just lightly tensioned, I'm able to move it forward and backwards if I choose to, but just for the sake of setting up for you guys, we're going to keep it all the way on the rear of the board. And like I mentioned, that just generates a little less lift, so it makes it a lot easier for that beginner rider to get up with the foil the first time. We'll take our Allen key from then. I like to go from each corner to corner, just kind of slowly tightening them, making sure it's really even, but also making sure we're going to get them nice and snug. So here we go, going from one corner to the other. So now we've got our mast attached to the board. It's time to break out the fuselage. We're going to rest it right on top of the mast here. And as you can see, we've got these 3 inserts of holes, but we're going to have the latter of the 2 facing closer towards the front of the board. So we have essentially our shorter end facing towards the nose of the board, where our lengthier end is facing out towards the tail. Now that we know what end our fuselage is going in, we can take these screws, run them through, line up the hole, and just get them lightly tensioned so we don't have to worry about this fuselage falling off and taking off any toes or fingers. So we'll just get them started nice and loose, and once you get these screws brand new out of the package, they're going to have a nice layer of Loctite on them, so they may be a little tricky to have to really put some tension on them to get them going, but that's how they should be, and they'll be able to stay nice and tight once you get the rest of it going. We don't want to have any loose parts here, so we'll really try to tension them down and make sure they're all good to go. So from here, we've got our fuselage attached. Now it's time to move into the wings. We're going to start with the forward wing, which is going to be the largest one. It also comes with a really nice carrying case. That way it just kind of keeps it out of the sun and keeps it nice and protected. So here is going to be our large wing. This one's going to sit at the forward end of the board. It's very important as well that you can kind of see where this outlined indented mark is on the front of it. That's going to sit flush right over the front of this fuselage right here. So we got our large wing. We're going to rest it right up on top here, just like in the past. Get them tensioned just lightly with my thumb so that way it kind of rests evenly. And then we're able to just file on through here. That's the second one. And then right into the third. Now that we've got our large wing attached, we're going to take our smaller wing and attach it towards the rear of the fuselage. Now, just like we mentioned in that large wing, you can see the slight indentation that shows you're going to set it nice and you're going to set that flush on top of the fuselage. As well, you can see the rounded section of this wing is going to be facing towards the forward end of the board, where the flat section is going to be facing towards the rear of the board. But there's actually 3 different settings that you can adjust. You can either move it closer towards the nose of the board or further towards the rear. When choosing this option for beginners, we recommend that you put it further towards the rear of the board. That just improves the stability and the control and makes it less sensitive. If you're looking to make some more extreme turns and some tight maneuvers, you're able to move it closer towards the nose of the board. But for starters, we'll just put it on the rear here. So once again, we'll take our 2 screws that are included in this package, and we'll just kind of rest it right on top here. Get those screws lightly tensioned. And then from there, we will take that Allen key and make sure that everything becomes nice and snug on this rear section. All right, so here we're putting on the finishing touches for this foil. We've got our forward and rear wing fully attached. We've got all our screws nice and tight. You can see that the forward wing is more facing towards the forward of the board with the lengthier end of this fuselage out towards the rear. When we're done using our foil, we're able to take this nice protective cover and attach it to both the forward and the rear wing. This will just prevent it from getting scratched up or possibly ripping any interior on the boat. So we'll take that, slide it on over. These Velcro straps will lock it into place, as well as our little buckle here that attaches it. Right now, you're ready to get on the water and have an awesome time on this foil. Make sure to use it safely and have a great time out there. Thanks.